I saw a rookie mistake the other day, and it just kind of blew me away because I made the exact same rookie mistake just a few years ago. So I want to make sure we revisit this video and show you what you should not be doing when it comes to a big giant smoker. Let's go. For today's experiments, I'm going to be going over smoking with different size woods. Yes, I know this is super basic, but you just scroll through Instagram and you can see a lot of people have recently gotten giant smokers, and what's the first thing they do? They're using the wrong type of wood. Maybe they're not. So let's do an experiment showing the different sizes of woods, what temperatures, consistencies, and type of smoke they're going to be throwing off. I'm going to do a close-up right here real quick, but for example, this thing is freaking huge, right? When I got my hands on a big smoker, this is what I wanted. I wanted to put this right in. So I no longer had to cut down wood, saw it down to a smaller size. However, it produces a different smoke, a different temperature fluctuations, because the idea is to get your smoke to a certain point with consistency. This is what we are working with today. As you can see, just two massive splits. We're going to get a really good bed of coals, and then we're going to put different size splits on there. Now, this looks so small, right? However, when you go to a smokehouse, you're looking at their pit. What do they have? They have the 12-inch splits, a little bit bigger than that sometimes. Here are the 18-inch splits. These can be tough to get into your firebox. One side of it burns while the other hasn't. It's going to be producing different smoke for you. That's why the 12-inch, it takes a little bit extra work, but it gets you to where you want it to be. And then these giant 18-inch that haven't been split down, you're new to smoking, it might not even be seasoned properly. See, we don't have a lot of splits in there, but we're excited. We want to get our smoker going, get this baby up and running. And what do we get? We get a different smoke. Now I'm going to do a follow-up video on bad smoke, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions on what actually is bad smoke, but we'll see if we can get some today. Right now, I started with very scrappy wood. I didn't want to get my torch out, so I used these scraps from the wood pile that are very thin, and I'm just trying to create a coal base so that when I put on that next split, it is up and running quickly. And we might as well get some temperature readings. I don't know if I said that already, but if I didn't, that's what we're gonna do. The way I like to do it when I'm getting the fire started is I like to have my chamber open so all that smoke can just get right out of there as quickly as possible until we get a good fire going with good embers. So we're about to shut this down and get started with this experiment. A couple of things different I've been doing lately. Normally I actually don't preheat the wood, but since it's got that little bit of morning dew and this piece is struggling more than I thought it would be, I added that. So for today's experiment, we'll be playing a little bit with this. The other thing I'm kind of doing differently is I'm not just focused on temperature. Yes, I want to hit the right, smooth, consistent temperature in my smoker, but as you can see where those embers are, that's one of the things I've been focusing on a little bit more lately. Is I want to keep that bed of embers underneath that piece of wood. I want to keep that nice. I want to keep it burning red hot, so it's producing that charcoal aspect from real wood. So when I add new pieces of wood to it, my goal is to replenish the bed of embers. It's not necessarily to get, the temperature. I want it consistent, or the smoke off the fresh piece of wood. I'm not necessarily looking for that anymore. I'm looking to keep a really nice bed of embers. All right, you can see the temperature is a little low. You can hopefully see that there's really clean can't even see any smoke. That's what we're looking for, but the temperature is, I want to get it up to 250, 275 range. So we're going to add our first round of wood. Since the temperature is a little lower, I want to get this fire a little hotter. So even though I'm looking for the embers and what the embers are doing, we need to kick this thing up and get it going a little bit hotter. Let's rotate this piece of wood here. Now this piece has been in the firebox preheating, and this piece has not. So what the heck? Let's keep these experiments just piling up here and see what happens. It's bothering me. And that piece I just moved sideways, you can see some parts of it were getting really close to fully turning over, while the middle section, which you might not be able to see, hadn't reached that. All right, so obviously the piece that's been sitting in there, we're getting good clean smoke right off the bat, or I should say less smoke. So we're just gonna see what this does. As you can see, like, one of the big reasons I wanted to do this experiment was you have all this firebox, right? Insulated, it's just thick steel, it's ready to do the job, eat wood, throw out great barbecue, right? Look how small the fire actually is. So this right here is still pumping out about 235 degrees and 210 degrees on the one side. So there is that spread difference, but it's packing a lot of punch. Now, as you can see, the piece we preheat it, we preheat it for like 10 minutes. Look how much of a difference. There's not a lot of moisture in this wood, but there's a little, and you can see that coming out. Where this one, you preheat it, so even if your wood's not completely seasoned where you want it to be, that little bit of preheat, and it's really hard to see, but this one's producing that little bit more of white smoke, which isn't the end of the world. That's going to be a whole video on itself. We got to stop treating certain types of smoke like it's the end of the world, because it's really not. As you can see, the piece is about to turn over and start breaking down into really nice embers. And we're going to add the next two pieces. This one has been in, the one in there has been in for about 5 minutes. But you can see these pieces are the type of pieces that get delivered before you cut them down. All right, so those pieces I cut down, I got a miter saw out and I cut them down. But when you get wood delivered, you just want to split it. In my preference, I just want to take a sledge to it, split it, and then throw it in here, right? I don't want to get the miter saw out. So sometimes I just take these. But now we're dealing, I don't want to put it right in that way. I would like to for the sake of this experiment, but I want to keep building up my ember bed properly. So I'm going to do it crisscross. All right, this is going to leave new embers forming over here, expanding my ember pile. So let's see what it does to the temperatures. Obviously, I couldn't even put them in the way I wanted to. So these are these extra steps you want to do if you want really consistent barbecue. Or at least we're going to find out, does it really matter that much? Can you just get wood, throw it in there? You know, for me, on most days, that's the way I operate. However, in a lot of the professional videos from people that run shops, they have very specific size wood because they want the same smoke, they want the same temperature every single time. They don't want to be dealing. So these extra steps you might want to take in the beginning, are they making a world of difference for these barbecue shops, barbecue restaurants? You know what I'm saying. This thing's doing an awesome job of catching. We don't see a lot of billowing smoke. It caught. Embers are right where they need to be, replenishing that pile. Let's check the smoke. All right, you don't see this heavy, excessive smoke coming out. So this firebox does a fantastic job. There we are with temperatures holding at 230. I actually want it at 250, 275. So this should help, hopefully help expand my embers to get the next batch going even hotter. One thing I want to mention, everything's wide open. All right, we got 2 side vents. The other one looks just like that. And I've had the door open the whole time. So as we track down in this experiment, which wood we like to use the best, and maybe we'll be wrong by the end of it. Maybe throwing that big split on there is what you should do. I highly doubt it, but once we find the wood we like, then we can start playing with shutting down vents and stuff like that on a big smoker. All right, this is really hard to see, but the smoke is, before you couldn't see it at all. And it's the sun and lighting, but I can see it. It's starting to, like, you're gonna be watching this, like, what the heck is this guy talking about? But the smoke is turning over. And the reason it's turning over is we're now starting to run into problems with our firebox. All right, we have half I kind of mentioned this earlier, half of this is going to get lit, the pieces under the embers are, and then we're going to have that issue with the rest of the pieces. So this is where the smaller splits, keeping them right into the embers, really makes a big difference with consistency, with smoke. But now we're starting to get different aspects that we're having to deal with, different variables we have to deal with. And the thing I'm most concerned about is actually the ember bed. So because we have big pieces, and it's been about 15-20 minutes, we have big pieces, it's taking longer for them to turn over into the embers that we're looking for. All right, and I think that's where a lot of people get confused is, you know, you want fresh wood on there to create that smoke. What I've learned over the years is I want really good embers producing good heat, like a charcoal. I don't want to buy the charcoal and use charcoal in a smoker like this, but I want to turn my wood into charcoal or equivalent to charcoal as quickly as possible. So I'm going to finagle this a little just to keep this experiment going. Temperature has actually been holding really steady. That's a thick steel doing its job. Sometimes when you get the thick steel really hot, it's really hard, even when you shrink down your fire, to get that temperature down. But it's been holding temperature really well. But this isn't the type of fire, this is just going to lead to issues. So let's fool around with this, see if we can't fix it for the big piece and see what happens there. Woo, that was fun. As you can tell, this isn't something I would traditionally do. I would have run this fire completely different if I was strictly sticking with these longer pieces. I would have expanded my ember bed, all right, but that would have caused higher heats, and then you just got to smoke with those. But now you're starting to see how the difference plays, more variables getting into the mix, and what you need to do. Here we are. This is where I believe the rookie mistake happens. All right, couple things going on. Our bed of embers, as it tries to get the bigger pieces up and running, has really died down. So now we're going to put a giant piece in, which I saw the other day on Instagram. Phenomenal cook. Like the videos I've seen where they just focus on the food is amazing, and they have a new big smoker. So I can easily see the learning curve. But as you can see, we got issues here. What's this wood going to do? It's just going to smolder. It's not really catching, turning over to charcoal. You try to break it up, and it can't break easy when, you know, your piece is where it needs to be. It breaks, and you can move it around. Here we got a problem. but we're gonna go ahead and add this giant piece onto the hottest part of the embers, and we're gonna see what it does to the smoke, the temperature, and replenishing the embers. Huge piece. That's what I saw happen the other day. It's gonna burn off all the smaller pieces right away, so it's gonna help ignite that, but we'll see where it goes from there. Guys, the camera is not really picking it up, but there's smoke coming out from everywhere. It's not the end of the world smoke, but having this big piece going, just creating this stagnant smoke. It's trying to push through as quickly as possible. And it's really pumping there, but that's what you get with the bigger pieces. This is where the rookie mistake really comes and bites us. All right, so this has been on for about a half an hour. As you can see, the coal bed is just about completely gone. This did not light because not only was it a giant piece, or it lit, it burned for a while, but because it was a giant piece, it hasn't turned over the charcoal bed. It's trying to cook through. The other part, if you watched my video last week, seasoning wood, another rookie mistake. So these are the type of things, you're excited, you got a new smoker, but what do you want to look out for? You don't want to make these mistakes. Now I have to play catch up and try to get the charcoal bed, move in some stuff, all right, try to get relit, add some other pieces, and what's probably going to happen? What's probably going to happen is all of a sudden the temperature is going to spike really hot. Now that we get more embers going, other pieces in here, now we're probably going to shoot to the other side. So it makes it a challenge to have consistent temperatures when you use really big pieces. That's why you see a lot of the restaurants, the professionals, they use tinier pieces to stay consistent. Let's fix this and then wrap up. As you can see, since we're in recovery mode, trying to get some stuff lit, get the right heat, get the right fire going, we're getting a lot of off-putting smoke here. Is it the end of the world smoke? No, you can have this type of smoke for a little while, but it will create challenges for you if you're always recovering and always putting on heavier smoke. I think that should just about wrap it up. You get the idea when you're using a giant piece, all right? You just went out and you spent $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 on a huge, beautiful smoker, and then you don't even think about what type of wood should I be running. Because to me, when I first started running this, I did want the big pieces, all right? That's the whole point of getting a huge smoker. I don't have to do the extra steps. But then as you see the professionals and you go to the right restaurants, you see that they're all very similar shapes that they are cooking with. And even on the 250, 500, 1,000 gallon tanks, they're still using surprisingly small pieces. And that's for consistency, getting that charcoal bed right where they want it. And that's something I'm thinking differently about as I continue going down the road. I used to want to put on fresh pieces of wood to get more smoke pumping. Now I'm less concerned about the smoke and more concerned about the ember bed and keeping that going just at the right amount. So it's just a little bit different way of thinking about it. But like I said, I'm seeing these rookie mistakes that I've made on big smokers, what I want to do, and hopefully this illustrated just you're going to be playing a lot of catch up when it comes to using bigger splits. Talking about rookie mistakes that I've made myself, I also want to point out my last video, which was a very frustrating mistake. As you get yourself a big smoker, make sure to check out that video, because you're going to realize real quick, wait, the wood, I need to have my wood source prepared well in advance. So I hope you guys are having a great day, and if you have any questions, please leave a comment, give me a huge thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel. Take care.